Hi folks, Willie Jackson here today. I brought along a guest and we're extremely proud to have him here today. We're extremely grateful. We're going to be talking about the Federal Reserve and the damage it's done to the United States of America, taking away our true money based on gold and silver and introducing Federal Reserve notes, which are fiat money. Mr. McCarthy is going to talk about his book, The Money Spiders, The Ruination of the United States by the Federal Reserve. I've read multiple books on the Federal Reserve, and this book, I am proud to say, you can get through in a couple of hours. It is the easiest to understand, the most informative book. It by far is something that everybody needs to get a hold of, understand, pass it on to their children. Educate yourselves, because this plays a huge part in the story. Without further ado, Mr. McCarthy.
Yeah, thanks, Joe, for inviting me over to talk about my book. I just want you to know, my fellow Americans, that you're being hoodwinked. You're being lied to, and if we don't do something real soon about what this government is doing to its people, it's all going to come crashing down. Now, what I like to do is talk about the Federal Reserve. This institution came about in 1913, and ever since 1913, the U.S. dollar has lost over 97% of its value, and there's a reason for that. It's called inflation, and they've been doing it for almost over 100 years now, and it's going to get worse, and we're going to talk about that a little bit today.
Jim, I'd like you to comment, if you will, on this article.
Yeah, this is an article that I picked up recently. It says the world's 85 richest people have as much as poor as 3.5 billion.
So in other words, they control as much money on this planet, 85 people, as 3.5 billion other people. That's what you're saying?
That's correct. That's correct. It's quite a stat to think about.
Jim, they've introduced 5 years ago, Ben Bernanke was named Time Magazine's Person of the Year for saving the United States economy. He introduced a controversial policy that was never really tried before called quantitative easing. We have quantitative easing 1, quantitative easing 2, quantitative easing 3, quantitative easing 4, quantitative easing forever. Can you please tell me what quantitative easing is and explain to the people what is happening?
Well, QE, or quantitative easing, or I call it quantitative infinitum, because it keeps going on and on and on, is basically what the Federal Reserve is doing is monetizing the debt. They're throwing $85 billion of paper money into the economy and basically making us more and more poor. And they do that, the more money they put into the economy is going to cost more for the products that we use.
Jim, let me stop you there. When you say more for the products, can you please show me, you were demonstrating this to me earlier. Here's two pictures. This was a Ford F-150 back in 2003. If you can get a close-up on that, 2003 Ford 150, and the price on it was $10,990. Here in 2014, here's a Ford F-150, and the price on it is $22,900. It's over doubled in 11 years. To me, that means that the value of the dollar is halved. The trucks are the same. It takes twice as many units. Here, strawberries. We had strawberries last year, $1.69 for a pint, and now they're 2 for $5 or $2.50 a pint. They've gone from $1.69 to $2.50 in 1 year. If they're not raising prices on us, they're making the products smaller. Here we have big rolls of toilet paper. They certainly look the same. I know they've gone up in price monetarily, but they've also taken the width of the product and made it from 4.25 inches wide down to 4.1. You're getting less volume. They do that with juice, they do that with coffee, they do that with all types of products. Can you please explain, Jim, what's happening to the American public?
Oh, basically, again, it goes back to this this fake money that the Federal Reserve is producing. The more they produce, the more money's out there, more paper currencies out there, and it's going to cost more. Basically, what happens is you have to work more for the same product. You have to pay more for the same product, so you have to work longer hours to get the same product. And that's the consequence of all this QE 3 and 4 infinitum. I want to point out here, I have three bills up here. This is a $50 Federal Reserve note, Walt Disney, I don't know what they call these, Disney dollars. And then, of course, we have the ubiquitous monopoly money here. Basically, they're all the same. They're printed from paper, and there's no intrinsic value in any of these notes. The only reason why the Federal Reserve note has any
Perceived value.
Perceived value is that they force it on you, number one, because there's things called legal tender laws. If you don't use the Federal Reserve note, then you could be prosecuted, either paying or selling a product in the United States. They can put you in jail for not using. What's really funny to me is I can go into a store and give them a silver coin, okay, which is 90% silver, which is real money. Real money has intrinsic value, and they won't take that. But if I give them this $50 Federal Reserve note, they'll take that. So it's really a problem. It's really a problem.
All right, Jim, we got about 1 minute left here. I want you to, you've already touched on the devaluation of the currency, hyperinflation, you didn't really hit yet, but we know
Well, let me tell you this, when all this QE comes home to roost, there's going to be a thing called hyperinflation. And you better look out, because it's going to cost a lot of money for a lot of, that's another thing too. There's $205 trillion of unfunded liabilities in the United States. And we have, that's over 17 trillion now, $17 trillion in debt. Your share of the national debt is now 1.1 million. And that part of that is part of the family share of unfunded liabilities. So we are really deep into debt right now. And Wall Street Advisor, actual unemployment is actually 37.2%.